Hello, hello. How's everyone doing?
Good.
How's everyone doing? Let's get some energy in here, huh? Who's ready to learn how to become a fat-burning machine? I didn't hear anything. Who's ready to become a fat-burning machine? Yeah, let's burn some fat. My name is Paul Niyama. I have been helping people transform their bodies for about 15 years. Started off in LA, went to LA for the entertainment industry, and I walked into a gym to start to work at the front desk so I could go on auditions during the day, and I could work at the front desk overnight. I talked to the manager, he looks at me like, you should be a trainer. I'm like, what? Not a trainer. You know, because I thought trainers needed to be big and jacked and strong, and that wasn't me, and it's still not me. But he said, no, you're a trainer. I'm like, well, all right. So I took his word, learned that, and I've been helping people transform their bodies for over 15 years now. Also, in addition to training, I write for the website, musclebuildingfoodshq.com. HQ stands for headquarters. And I write a lot of articles on nutrition, working out, motivation, supplements, anything. And my Twitter is at musclebuildingfoodshq.com. So who is here to burn some fat? I see a couple of hands, all right? So fat is a problem in the US. If you guys are looking to burn fat, you're not alone. Over 70% of America is overweight. And if you look at the statistics on obesity, they have been steadily rising. Over a third of the country is obese. 10% of that is extremely obese. So it's a big problem in the US. It's not just about looking good. It's not just about being cut and ripped. It's about being healthy. Some of the risks that obesity can cause: heart disease, that's the #1 killer in the US. Cancer, it's the #2 killer. Stroke, #4. Diabetes, #7. Kidney disease, #9. High blood pressure, which increases your risk for all of that stuff. And osteoarthritis, that's your bone and joint problems. Definitely want to make sure that you're burning fat, eating healthy, doing all the right stuff. So, most people know they want to get healthy, and they spend a lot of money on that. In 2013, Americans spent $60 billion trying to lose weight. Who spent any money trying to lose weight? Anybody? It's a big issue. And about $3 trillion on healthcare costs. So the health issues far outweigh the looking good. And they spent money throughout time on a lot of different things. Who's ever seen one of those before? Trying to shake the weight off. The first gym I went to was in Hawaii, the Elks Club. I walked in and always saw that thing. I was wondering, what the hell does that do? Even as a kid, I was like, what does that do? Never ever saw anybody on that, but they had one of those. People try to roll the weight off. I've never seen any one of those. Anybody seen one of those before? Wonder Sauna hot pants. Who's ever tried one of those? You can slenderize exactly where you want to. Right in the butt and everywhere else. What about the Thigh Master? Who's ever saw one of these? My sister had one of those. It didn't do what the commercials said. And the shake weight. Who saw these commercials? I think I remember the Saturday Night Live parody more than the commercials, the shake weight. So, in addition to spending all kind of money on crazy products, there's also crazy fad diets. Who's ever done a crazy fad diet? Here's a few of them. The Twinkie diet, where you eat a bunch of Twinkies. Cabbage soup diet. Master cleanse. That's a tough one. The baby food diet. That's just some of them. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Most crazy diets don't work because you can't sustain them. They don't work for the long term.
Twinkie diet. That sounds pretty good.
The Twinkie diet, yeah.
I think I can get into that one.
Supplement industry is huge. Another billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. Who's ever bought any supplements trying to lose weight? No? A couple people look like they're scared to raise their hands. Raspberry ketones. You look on the internet, that's the big fad right now. Green coffee extracts, African mango. Last year, Congress brought Dr. Oz before them because he was giving people false hope. There's no evidence raspberry ketones, green coffee extracts, African mango even work. But he's been promoting them on his show for a while. Congress scolded him last year. Those last two products actually work, fen-phen and ephedrine. Who's heard of those? They work, but they kill people. Not a good thing. Most supplements don't work. If there was a magic pill, everybody would be taking it, everybody would be lean, everybody looking good. What's the real ways to lose weight? Eat right, exercise. Everybody knows that. A lot of misconceptions about a few of those things, though, so I'm going to talk about them tonight. The first pillar is nutrition. I already said diets don't work. What works is lifestyle changes. Making permanent changes to your nutrition, making sure you're eating healthy. Fat diets don't work. 95% of them fail. I'm not talking about diets, I'm not talking about your nutrition. I'm talking about a diet that people go on, like a crash diet that lasts for a few weeks. Master cleanse. Drink lemonade, maple syrup, cayenne pepper, and laxatives. And you do that, you'll lose a lot of weight. But what happens when you get off of that? All the weight's going to come back. UCLA did a study. After 2 years, 83% of people that went on fad diets gained more weight than when they started. This means that if you didn't diet at all, you would be in better off shape. Diets don't work. Lifestyle changes do. Some of the misconceptions about diets. Some of these I believe because there's actually science behind some of these. Who's heard calories in versus calories out? It's all about what you burn. If you eat more than you expend, you're going to gain weight. If you expend more than you eat, you're going to lose weight. If it's exactly the same, you're going to stay the same weight. There's some solid science behind that. Physics, law of thermodynamics. But it doesn't always work out that way. I've trained a lot of people that work hard, they don't eat. They eat good, and they don't lose weight. So calories in, calories out doesn't tell the whole story. One of the reasons, because the myth, the calorie is just the calorie. Who's heard of if it fits your macros? Nobody? Basically, you're eating the right amount of calories. If you get the right amount of protein, carbohydrates, fats, doesn't matter where these come from. If it fits your macros, you're going to get in shape. Doesn't always work like that. Being fat is a problem of being lazy. You got to move more and eat less. Back to calories in, calories out. That doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't really work like that all the time. Some people, it just doesn't. Remember this slide? Obesity rising up. If you look, there's a sharp change right about here. I don't know if you guys can see that. 1976, 1980, 1988, 1994. This was in the low double digits. Then it started slowly rising. Anyone know what happened in 1988?
Low carb diet.
HFC.
It actually happened a lot before that. In 1988, Richard Simmons released his Sweat Into the Oldies VHS tape, and look what happened to the obesity rates. It's Richard Simmons' fault. Anybody believe that?
Processed food.
A lot of processed food, yep. Now, Richard Simmons was a Sean T before Sean T was even Sean T. Richard Simmons did a lot of good. What happened? Some of you guys said it, but this actually goes all the way back to the 60s with a person named Ansel Keys. Does anybody know who Ansel Keys is? I know some of you do. I've talked to some of you guys about this before. Ansel Keys is a scientist. Has anybody heard of the 22-country study? Nobody, because it doesn't exist. He took the data from 22 countries. His hypothesis was that high fat equals high heart disease. But some of the data didn't match up. There are countries that ate a lot of fat, a lot of saturated fat, had low incidence of heart disease. So what did he do? All of the data didn't match up, he threw it out, and that's why we have the 7-country study. He eliminated over 2/3 of the data. And because of that, in 1977, George McGovern released the guidelines for the US. Before Ansel Keys came out, the common way to lose weight was to eat less sugar, eat more bread. 1977, the government came out with their recommendations to lose weight or to be healthy. And they recommended Americans eat a lot of grain, and the obesity went up. The main culprit for weight gain is that. Does anybody know what that is?
High fructose corn syrup.
Close, close. It's the result of high fructose corn syrup. This is a molecule for insulin. Anybody know what insulin is? It's a hormone produced in the body. This is something we actually need, but this is the cause of all weight gain. When the blood sugar gets too high, what happens is insulin is released in the body. When insulin is released in the body, it starts to shuttle all the sugar into your muscles to burn that for energy. Anything that you can't burn to energy goes and stores in your fat. While it's being stored in the fat, no fat can be burned. So if you have a lot of insulin in your body, you're not burning fat. It also screws up a couple other hormones, leptin and ghrelin. These control your appetite. Leptin tells the body that it's full, ghrelin tells the body that it's hungry. You get too much insulin in the body that's streaming throughout the whole body from eating a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugars. The body becomes resistant to that. It becomes resistant to leptin as well. Leptin is released by the fat cells when it's full. If the body's resistant to that, the body never recognizes that it's full. And you're always hungry. That's why when you drink a soda, a big soda, 500 calories worth of Sprite, 500 calories worth of Coke. Do you feel hungry after that? You eat 500 calories worth of beef. Are you going to feel hungry after that? The sugar, the insulin, causes you to be hungry. And if the insulin is always in your body, all the food that you eat will be transported directly into the fat cells first, before it gets to the nutrition. This is why a calorie is not a calorie. This is why what you eat matters. If you look at the sugar consumption, the rise of sugar, availability, then from 1920 to 1980, it kind of leveled off. After the McGovern report, that thing skyrocketed. It's estimated that today the average American eats between 150 and 170 pounds of sugar a year. Pounds. Now, this is hidden in a lot of foods. It's not like people are just eating sugar. It's all in the foods you eat. You see, read the labels of all your foods. If you see anything that says there's sucrose, that is the same thing as table sugar. High fructose corn syrup. It's in most of the products. It's pretty much the same thing molecularly. Sugar consumption is on the rise, and so is obesity. Calories matter. Trans fats. Who knows what trans fats are? They're not good. They're in a lot of food as well. Hydrogenated oils. Margarine. People got scared of butter when they thought that fats were bad, so they went to margarine. The problem is margarine is full of hydrogenated oils. These are your trans fats. And if you look at this crystal thing right here, I don't know if you can see that the resolution is kind of bad. It says 0 grams trans fats. But if you look at the ingredient list, hydrogenated oils, that means that it is a trans fat. They're getting tricky. So not only do you have to read the nutritional information, you also have to read the ingredient list. Because in 2007, Wake Forest University, they did a study on monkeys. They fed monkeys the same amount of calories, the same amount of fat. One group, monounsaturated fat. The other group, trans fats. Guess what happened after 6 years? They didn't die, but they gained a lot of weight. The trans fat group, same amount of calories, the trans fat group gained a significant amount of weight, gained a significant amount of belly fat, and developed insulin resistance. Same amount of calories. A calorie is not a calorie. It's not just about calories in, calories out. The good news about trans fat is last month the government declared it unsafe, which means it's not going to be in your foods. But the bad news is they gave the companies 3 years to get it out, which means for the next 3 years, you still need to be reading labels and looking at ingredient lists because they get tricky. The solution: eat real food. There's a lot of different diets out there. A lot of these diets are very individualized. But the best one's all about eating real food. Proteins. This is what builds the muscle. Good sources of protein include wild-caught salmon, wild-caught, not farm-raised, because fishes don't produce omega-3s. It's actually algae. If they're farm-raised, they get feed. They don't get any omega-3s. So if you want omega-3s from salmon, you need to get wild-caught. You'll still get the protein from the farm-raised, but you won't get any omega-3s. Grass-fed beef. Why grass-fed? Because cows are made to eat grass. They're not made to eat corn. They're not made to eat feed. They get sick. They pump full of antibiotics. They're pumped full of hormones. And that goes right into your body. Free-range chicken, free-range eggs. Another good sources of protein. Eggs do have cholesterol. Anything from an animal does have cholesterol, but there's no studies that link cholesterol to a rise of heart disease. A lot of this information was made public before 1977, but they still went with the low-fat theory. Fats are good. Fats do not raise insulin. Carbohydrates, sugar, they do raise insulin. We already talked about that. Proteins can raise insulin in certain instances. Fats do not. This is why for the clients that I put on low-carb diets, the fats need to be high. High protein doesn't work. High fat can work, high carb can work. Good sources of fat are avocados, almonds, coconut oil. Coconut oil has a lot of other benefits as well. Fruits and veggies. These are foods that are high nutrition, a lot of vitamins and minerals, and very low calories. You look at processed foods, they're exactly the opposite. Lots of calories, very low nutrition. Kale, spinach, broccoli, peppers, cauliflower, good veggies. Fruits are not the same as fruit juice, because fruit juice has all the fiber knocked out, so all you're getting is sugar. Same thing with dried fruit, same thing with frozen fruit. Real fresh fruit. Berries are good. Berries are the lowest sugar fruit out there. All berries. Apples. Pears. Real stuff. Real food goes bad. Processed food can sit on your shelf for a while. If your food's not going bad, there's some kind of chemicals in there. Now, for some people, they need carbs. Not everybody needs a lot of carbs. If your metabolism is screwed up and you have an insulin resistance, you might want to eliminate your carbs to get that body sensitive to the insulin again. If you're an athlete, you probably need a little more carbs than more people. But some good carbs: oatmeal, quinoa, beans. And I consider a bean a carb. I don't consider it a protein, even though there is a protein in there. Rice, potatoes, they're all good carbs. These are all real food. This is the kind of food you should be eating if you want to become a fat-burning machine. You need to eat enough. If you're always full, never hungry, not eating, it means you have a slow metabolism. Who's ever had that? Not a lot of clients have that. Food is important. Ultra low calorie does not work for long term. You might lose some weight in the beginning. You might lose some water in the beginning. But it's not sustainable because the body will lower its metabolism. Not going to be burning calories at a quick rate. If you want to become a fat-burning machine, you need to give the body that machinery it needs. You need to give it that fuel it needs to start to burn that fat. You need to eat enough calories, even if you're trying to lose weight, even if you're trying to cut up. You don't want to cut the calories too much. What should you cut up if you're trying to lose weight? Sugar. And possibly all carbohydrates. There's a lot of different plans out there, a lot of plans that work. But again, when you're thinking about nutrition, I want you to focus on lifestyle changes, diets that you can sustain. The best diet out there is the one that you could do for long term. There's no magic recipe, there's no magic pill, just about eating healthy, eating real foods, getting a lot of vitamins and minerals. The next thing in getting to become a fat burning machine is your workout. There's two parts of a workout. I separate these two, your cardio and your weight training. Who thinks cardio is more important? Who thinks weight training is more important? A few more hands. They're both important. They do different things. All right, some misconceptions people have about weight training. Weights will make me bulky. Who's ever heard that one before? If you need to burn fat, you need to lift a lot of reps. You gotta tone. Who's ever tried to tone? Weights don't make you bulky. Bad nutrition makes you bulky. 5 pounds of fat out here, 5 pounds of muscle, a lot smaller. A pound of fat burns about 5 calories a day. A pound of muscle burns about 50 calories a day. If you replace 5 pounds of fat with 5 pounds of muscle, you're going to be smaller, you'll be burning more calories throughout the day. This is what's going to keep the weight off. It's going to make you smaller. Spot reduction. Does anybody know what that is? There's no such thing. According to the ads, you could do an ab blaster, an ab roll, and all you want and burn fat right in the abs. But it doesn't work that way. Genetics plays a big role. So if you look at your parents and see where they burn fat first and where they store fat first, fortunately or unfortunately, that's where you're going to be burning fat first and storing fat first. But the good thing is genetics does not limit your ability to burn fat. You can burn fat by creating good habits. You're not limited by genetics as far as that. Another myth, the longer you work out, the better. 20 minutes workout is good. 2 hours must be a lot better. Sometimes, but that's not always the case. There is such a thing as overtraining. And if you're working out for that long, you're probably not working out hard enough. So what does work? There's a lot of programs that work. Just going to keep it simple, go over some of the basics here. The most important thing when you're lifting is to get the proper technique. Your form when you lift is so important. Not only to make the exercise more effective, but to prevent injury. One of the biggest game killers out there is injuries. So you want to stay healthy, you want to stay strong, you want to use good technique, even if it means using a little less weight, because in the long run, it's a lot better. The big three. Who knows what the big three are?
Squats, deadlifts, bench press.
Yes. Squats, bench press, deadlift. These are the best exercises, and I try to get my clients on these as soon as possible. Not everybody can do these, though. There's some clients I've been working with for years, and they still can't do these because it comes back to proper technique. Some people don't have the mobility. Some people are too tight. Some people have injuries. But if you're healthy and you can move, big three. Why are the big three important? Because they're moving a lot of joints at the same time. If you do a deadlift correctly, that's a full body exercise. If you do a squat correctly, it's not just a leg exercise, it's a full body exercise. If you do a bench press correctly, you're working your full body. This is what's gonna move a lot of muscles, and it's gonna burn a lot of calories, and it's gonna create a lot of muscle to burn more calories later. My recommendation for fat loss is stay within 6 to 12 reps. It's different from a lot of people tell you. But I've seen people get the best results from about 6 to 12 reps for fat loss. So if you can do more than 12 reps, you're lifting too light. If you can do less than, can't get 6 reps, you're lifting a little too heavy. Staying within that range challenges yourself. Remember, if the body can already do it, it has no reason to change. If you want to change your body, you need to challenge it. And in program design, this is the main concept that you want to look at. Progressive overload. This means that over time, your program should be getting harder and harder. The most common way this happens is by increasing the weight. So you should be getting stronger and stronger over time, which means you're creating more muscle. Doesn't always mean more weight though. It could be less rest time. It could could be more volume, doing more sets. But over time, your program should be getting harder. This doesn't mean that every single workout needs to be hard. Because some days you come into the gym and just don't feel good. Some days you feel really great and you're hitting new PRs. So your workouts go like this. But over time, they should be going in an upswing. Cardio, HIIT versus steady state. The most effective workout for burning fat is a HIIT workout. I wish it was weight training, but it's not. It's actually HIIT training. HIIT is high intensity interval training. This gives you the most bang for your buck. This means going really, really hard and then slowing down. Example of this would be sprinting around a track and then jogging. You could use a lot of different ways to do this. You could do 30 seconds hard, a couple minutes off. But again, progressive overload applies, which means over time, this should be getting harder and harder. Steady state's not the worst thing. It's good for recovery. It's a little easier, so if you have injuries or if you're new, steady state would probably be a little better because HIIT is hard. Think about sprinting as hard as you can for 30 seconds. It's not easy, but it is effective. Steady state takes a long time. So if you have the time and have the injuries, I would recommend steady state, but HIIT works a lot better. Just make sure that over time, your workouts are getting harder and harder. There's a lot of people I see in the gym, they do the same workout all the time. They look exactly the same. All right, and move on to the last one. This one is probably the most neglected part of weight loss and muscle building. It's your recovery. This is a couple things. This is your sleep and your actual recovery, the work that you do to recover. Sleep. This is where your muscle is built. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not building muscle. Makes it harder and harder to burn fat, makes it harder and harder to keep the fat off. This is where a lot of hormones are released as well. Your body releases a lot of melatonin, which reduces your cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone linked directly to obesity and belly fat. Your ghrelin goes up. Ghrelin is responsible for making you hungry. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're more hungry. You're more likely to eat more, make improper food choices. And also leads to insulin resistance. We talked about that. Insulin's the main cause of weight gain. Your recovery, stretching. A lot of people neglect this. Many people have muscle imbalances. Most people that I meet for the first time have a lot of muscle imbalances because society's got them very sedentary, sitting down in the chair. You look at what happens when you sit. Hip flexors get real tight, glutes get stretched out, they get weak, hamstrings get tight, and lower back gets tight. Very common to see someone like this. And unfortunately, this is why a lot of people can't do squats and deadlifts properly. So stretching helps. If you're in pain, lower back pain is very common. Best ways I found to reduce lower back pain is stretching these hip flexors out, strengthening the abs. Not even working the lower back. It's more about hip flexors and abs. It's muscle imbalances. And stretching helps these. There's a few different kinds of stretching. The best corrective stretching is going to be your SMR. This is self-myofascial release. This is what she's doing here. Rolling on a foam roller. This is kind of like a deep tissue massage. If you have a lot of knots in your muscle, the blood can't get through there, which means it's going to be harder and harder to build muscle. And it's going to be harder and harder to lengthen that muscle. So if you have a lot of muscle imbalances, SMR is going to help static stretching and dynamic stretching. If you have knots in your muscle, the static and dynamic is not going to benefit you as much as possible. So using a foam roller, if your muscles are a little hard, you can use a PVC pipe. Lacrosse balls also work, but getting into the places that are sore and massaging them, loosening up the muscles. Some tips for recovery. Sleep about 8 hours a night. You guys don't sleep enough? 2 hours. The exact time is not as important as feeling rested. If you wake up and you feel tired, you're probably sleep deprived. It's more about going through those circadian rhythms rather than exact amount of time. One thing that helps people get more rest is limiting electronics before bed. Electronics, televisions, phones, computers, they eliminate a lot of blue light. There's the same kind of light that's emitted from the sun, so that your body thinks that it's awake, it's time to get up. Has a hard time shutting down. So either limiting, shut them off. There's also these really cool looking orange glasses like Bono from YouTube that you can wear right before bed. This orange glasses block out blue light. So if you have to use electronics, that's one way to help with your sleep so that the body doesn't think that it's daytime. As far as stretching, just do it. There's no secret to it. Learn how to do it properly and do it. I tell my clients to do it 3 times a day. If you can do it once a day, do it. If you can do it every other day, it's better than not doing it at all. But pretty much everybody I've seen has a muscle imbalance. And especially if you work out, because what you're doing when you work out, you're damaging your muscles. And what this leads to is muscle imbalances if you don't start to correct this. So, to review, 3 pillars of fitness. Nutrition is probably the most important. Your workout. Make sure that you're working out hard. You're not going easy on yourself. And your recovery. So your next steps. If you want to lose fat, if you want to become a fat burning machine, you need to know what you want. You need to clearly define your goals. You want to lose a few pounds. You want to get cut up. You want to get ripped. How serious are you about it? You need to know. Go without plan, it's just a wish. You need to set up your support structure. Tell your family, tell your friends. Get advice from them. If you don't know where to get the good advice, I'm here. You have me a question on Twitter, on Facebook. You can ask me a question if you see me around the gym. Get the right education and get someone that's going to push you. The next step, probably most important, is applying these changes. You can't just think about it. You can't just make a plan and want it to happen. You got to actually take action. All you guys are capable of that. You guys choose your own destiny. You guys create your life. You guys take action towards your goals. If it's important to you, you'll find a way. If it's not important to you, you'll find an excuse. Which is why goal setting is very important. Tracking your results is very important. There's no one cookie cutter plan that works for everyone. This is why tracking is important. There are some people that just, the normal stuff doesn't work for them. So when you're tracking how you're doing, it'll let you know if you're doing the right things. Not just tracking your results, tracking everything, tracking what you're doing, your nutrition, your workout plan. If your results aren't going in the right direction, something needs to be switched. That's why tracking is important. Get on a scale. Take a little selfie in the mirror. Check your body fat percent. The scale tells an incomplete picture. It'll tell your weight, but it won't tell you how much muscle and how much fat you have. And maybe this is the most important thing instead of applying to. Be consistent. Anybody could do the right things for a couple of days. Anybody could do the right things for a few weeks. It's a person that sticks with it and makes these lifestyle changes that's going to get results. That's how you're going to become a fat burning machine. I want to thank you guys for coming out. My name is Paul Niama. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll be answering up any questions. Opening up training.